and not a lot of people watch Jalen Reagor at TCU, but you hit it on the head. His quarterback was awful.
Yes, we're back again. We're back again.
Hey, let's pump up the volume.
Right here.
As always, if this is your first time listening, please make sure you subscribe on all platforms, whatever podcast platform you're using, you subscribe there. If you're on YouTube right now watching, go ahead and click subscribe there. So the Philadelphia Eagles got a lot of flack last year, Johnny, because their wide receiving room, or if you could call it that, was not a good one.
No, and frankly, they got a lot of flack this year as well after the draft, which
that's
is
true.
Absurd.
But they drafted number 21 overall, Jalen Reagor out of Reagor Targaryen.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Out of TCU to the Philadelphia Eagles here, number 21 overall. And this guy is a burner. If we were talking earlier about Henry Ruggs, the only guy that could maybe hold Jalen Reagor's jockstrap here Ruggs' jockstrap here is Jalen Reagor. And that's because he ran a 4.47 40. But Johnny, he then came out later with COVID-19 and all this with an unofficial video where he ran with two people, one person filming, two guys with stopwatches, where he ran a 4.22 40. Wow. So you're talking about a guy in Reagor who is a burner. There's going to be some knack here. He didn't have the best catch rate, only 46.2% catch rate. He had some spotty years, especially last year, but that's really because the quarterback play at TCU has not been consistent. And so I'm really excited to see what he can do with Carson Wentz. Talking a little bit about our dynasty draft where you took CeeDee Lamb. I took Jalen Reagor in the first round with my pick. I'm really excited to see what he could do. We talked about Ruggs being that Tyreek Hill kind of thing. I have a lot more faith in Doug Peterson calling plays more similar to the Kansas City Chiefs. So Reagor getting in this offense is really exciting. They've got some of the pieces. If people can stay healthy, including their quarterback, you've got to be excited about Reagor, right, Johnny?
Well, speaking of quarterback and Reagor, right? They also went out and drafted, a quarterback and Oklahoma,
Jalen Hurts,
and Jalen Hurts. So the questions now aren't necessarily, if Carson Wentz goes down, am I worried about my fantasy players? And not necessarily like that was the tune before, right? Because Philadelphia has always had pretty nice backups. But you gotta love this, and I don't know why, and it just blows my mind. Philadelphia Eagles are one of my secondary teams that I like to root for, and I know a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans, and they were all texting me after this pick, and they were so upset, and we'll get into the guy that they passed on next. Obviously, Minnesota took him with their next pick, but they were so disappointed because they wanted Justin Jefferson because Justin Jefferson was linked so much to the Eagles, and a lot of people saw him, right? Because Justin Jefferson went to LSU, and not a lot of people watched Jalen Reagor at TCU, but you hit it on the head. His quarterback was awful. And now you're going from a quarterback that was awful to one of the best in Carson Wentz when he's healthy is one of the best quarterbacks. Let's not forget that he was, could have been the MVP a few years ago before he got injured. So Jalen Reagor, you talked about it. He's going to blow the top off of this offense or blow the top off of the defense. Their guys can't stay healthy, so he should step in and see a handful of targets. Like their number one leading wide receiver last year was like a guy named Ward. Like no one knows, right? And so he should step in, be an immediate contributor. This guy can take screens to the house. They will use him and get the ball in his hands. That's all he needs. He doesn't need, to be one of these guys that is only the possession wide receiver, which I think Justin Jefferson is a little bit more of that guy. I think they wanted an all-around explosive playmaker, and they got that in Reagor, and I love him. I love this fit. I think this year in fantasy, he could be sneaky value because you're going to get him super late because most people say and think, which is generally the case, that rookie wide receivers don't pop off. But this class is just so good, and some of these situations is just too juicy to pass up. So Reagor will definitely
Reagor's one of the special cases where, his talent, maybe he's a boom or bust guy. Maybe that's what he sets up to be. But the boom here in a situation where he could be getting 10 targets right off the bat as a rookie because of the lack of talent in that wide receiver room. I mean, how can you not go and grab this guy? And I think that was the deciding factor for me in Dynasty was, look, I could look at a guy, I was looking at Justin Jefferson, who we'll talk about next, and you're looking at Jalen Reagor, right?
Mhm.
Which one do you take? Look, Reagor could really step into a role that is the number one on his offense, where Jefferson's going to have a lot more trouble getting there. Not saying there's not value there, but if that's the case, those targets become super valuable for a guy who's probably going to get up to 14, 15, 16 yards per catch because of the way he gets behind defenses. So I think there's some real huge upside here.
I mean,
I think
he averaged 14.5 yards per reception in college, and again,
they were
getting a lot of screens and stuff,
right? And that's because the quarterback play was bad. We can't emphasize that enough. Like, if you look at Pro Football Focus, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but they said, look, he dropped a lot of catches, but it's because only a very low amount of his balls were actually catchable,
right?
So you have a percentage of these balls that he's getting thrown that just they're not on target.
Right.
And so I think Reagor will benefit greatly from Carson Wentz throwing him the football. I'm excited to see where that goes. And unlike Ruggs, I will take a look at Reagor as a flyer in fantasy this year. Very excited about him.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.